My name is Sarah Lopez. I'm 36 years old. I'm sitting in my garage, staring at the empty space where my grandfather's car should be. It was a 1967 Ford Mustang. Cherry red, flawless chrome, the kind of car that didn't just turn heads. It made people stop breathing for a second. My grandfather left it to me 3 years ago when he passed. I've spent almost every weekend since then restoring it, bolt by bolt. It wasn't just metal and rubber. It was Sunday mornings and gasoline on my hands. It was him teaching me how to listen to an engine the way other people listen to music. Yesterday, that space was full. Tonight, it's nothing but oil stains and silence. My boyfriend, Jason Reed, 33, and I had been together for 4 years, living in my house for 2. I own a small contracting business. I work with my hands. I build kitchens, remodel bathrooms, fix foundations. Jason? He called himself a lifestyle content creator, which mostly meant he photographed expensive things he didn't pay for and convinced strangers online he was successful. I paid the mortgage, the utilities, the groceries. I told myself I was supporting his dream. Looking back, I was supporting an illusion. The signs were there. He called the Mustang that dusty relic. He'd wrinkle his nose and say, "Why do you waste entire Saturdays on that thing, Sarah? We could be at brunch." I always brushed it off. I thought he just didn't understand sentimental value. This morning I left for a job site at 6 a.m. Same routine. Jason was asleep, one arm flung across my pillow like he owned the place. Around noon, my phone buzzed. A photo. Jason standing in a marble hotel lobby in Miami, flashing a brand new designer watch that probably cost more than my truck. Text underneath. Finally treating myself to something nice. This influencer life is paying off. I replied, "Looks nice." I was managing a concrete pour before rain hit. I didn't think much of it. I should have. I got home around 7 p.m., exhausted and dusty. The house was quiet. I assumed he was out celebrating. I showered, made a sandwich, then walked to the garage to adjust the Mustang's carburetor before bed. And I froze. The space was empty. At first, my brain refused to understand. I actually blinked, like maybe it was a trick of light. Then my heart started pounding. Stolen. That was my first thought. I ran inside to grab my phone, ready to call police. That's when I saw the envelope on the kitchen counter. My name written in Jason's neat, slanted handwriting. Inside was a check, $5,000, and a note. "Hey babe, an amazing opportunity came up for a brand trip to Miami, but I was short on funds. I know you've been wanting to clear out the garage anyway, so I handled it. A guy Emily knows buys old cars and gave me a great deal, using the money for the trip and my new watch. I even left you some profit. See you in a week. Love, Jay." I read it once, twice, 3 times. He sold my grandfather's car for a fake influencer trip and a watch. He thought $5,000 made that okay. Something inside me didn't shatter. It froze. The hurt was there, heavy, crushing. But above, it was something sharper. Clarity. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was theft. I looked at the picture he'd sent again, finally treating myself. I typed back, "Good, you'll need it for court." Then I did 3 things. First, I called my bank and reported every joint credit card stolen. I explained my partner had committed a fraudulent transaction and left the state. Accounts frozen within minutes. Second, I called the non-emergency police line and reported the Mustang stolen. The title was solely in my name. I had his handwritten confession. They took it very seriously. Third, I messaged the brand he tagged in his Miami post. 5 minutes later, they replied, "We have no record of collaborating with this individual." Fake trip, fake success, real felony. He didn't just sell a car. He sold the last tangible piece of my grandfather. He sold my trust. I packed every single thing he owned into trash bags. His designer jackets, his ring lights, his skincare sets, all of it stacked by the door. I called a locksmith. When that new deadbolt clicked into place, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Control. He thinks he's coming back in a week. He has no idea the life he had here is already gone. And this is only the beginning. The next morning, I woke up before my alarm. Not because I was rested, because my mind kept replaying that empty garage like a crime scene. I made coffee I barely tasted and drove straight to my lawyer's office, still smelling faintly like sawdust and motor oil. My hands were steady on the steering wheel, but my chest felt like someone had poured wet cement inside it. My lawyer, Angela Park, didn't look surprised when I told her what happened. That scared me more than if she had. She flipped through the documents I brought, photos of the title, screenshots of Jason's text, the note with his handwriting. "This is strong," she said quietly. "Very strong." At 10:12 a.m., my phone started ringing. Jason. I stared at his name on my screen until it stopped. A minute later, a voicemail popped up. Then another. Then a long text. So many words it filled the preview twice. I didn't open it. I pressed forward. In Angela's office, I hit play on the voicemail with the volume low. Jason's voice poured out, breathless and frantic, like the air around him was shrinking. Sarah, what the hell is going on? My card got declined. I tried the other one. It's not working either. This is humiliating. The front desk is staring at me like I'm some broke idiot. Call me back right now. I felt something almost like satisfaction. Not joy. Not revenge. Just symmetry. He'd humiliated me in my own home, with my own bloodline. Now life was returning the favor in a hotel lobby full of strangers. Angela listened, then leaned back slightly. Don't respond, she said. Not directly. Everything through me, from this point on. I forwarded the voicemail to her email. She actually let out a short laugh. Not because it was funny, but because it was absurd. Like watching someone light their own house on fire and then scream at the smoke. Sarah, she said, voice turning professional again. The title being solely in your name matters. And this note, it's basically a confession. I nodded. My throat felt tight. And because he crossed state lines, she continued, this can escalate fast. I didn't flinch. Jason always talked like he was untouchable, like the world was a stage and he was the main character. But the world doesn't care about your followers when you commit a felony. 6 hours later, my phone rang again. Unknown number. I answered because I already knew it wouldn't be Jason. Jason would call from his own number. Jason would want his name to show up like a banner. Hello? A woman's voice exploded into my ear. Sarah, what is your problem? I pulled the phone away a fraction, eyes narrowing. Who is this? It's Emily, she snapped, like I was supposed to recognize her voice instantly. Jason's friend, the one who helped him with the car. Oh, not friend. Accessory. What do you mean helped him? I asked, keeping my voice calm, almost bored. You know exactly what I mean, she spat. Jason is stranded. The hotel kicked him out because his payment didn't go through. He's freaking out and you're acting like some psycho. I stared out Angela's office window, watching people cross the street like the world was normal. Like my grandfather's legacy hadn't just been ripped out of my life for a wristwatch and a fake vacation. Emily, I said softly, you just admitted you were involved. There was a pause, a tiny crack in her confidence. No, I didn't. You said you helped him with the car, I continued, voice still level. That car is titled in my name. He sold it without permission. That's theft. And anyone who facilitated it is part of the investigation. Silence. The kind of silence that feels like someone standing too close behind you. Then her voice came back smaller, tighter. I didn't know it was... I thought he said you were fine with it. Of course he did, I murmured. Because that's what people like Jason do. They borrow your reality and reshape it until it fits their narrative. Listen, Emily said quickly, the anger fading into panic. This is getting blown out of proportion. Jason just needed cash. It's not like he hurt you. I felt my grip tighten on my phone. He sold my grandfather, I said. What? He sold the last thing my grandfather left me. My voice didn't rise, but it sharpened. And now he's learning what it costs. Emily swallowed audibly. I'm hanging up now, I added, because I'm not discussing an active case with a potential person of interest. Wait, Sarah. I ended the call. Angela gave me a look. Good. I exhaled slowly, like I'd been holding my breath for hours. That night, Jason's social media went quiet. No more rooftop cocktails. No more Miami sunsets. No more fake captions about grind set and blessings. Just silence. And I knew exactly what that meant. The performance had stopped. The panic had begun. The next morning, I got the call. Ms. Lopez, a man's voice said, steady and official. This is Detective Harlan with the auto theft unit. My stomach dipped, but I kept my voice even. Yes, we've located the buyer Jason sold the Mustang to. My heart thudded once, hard. Where is it? It's complicated, he said. He sold it to an unlicensed dealer operating out of a warehouse. Cash transaction. No proper paperwork. I closed my eyes. Of course. Jason didn't sell it to someone reputable. He sold it to someone who wouldn't ask questions. Detective Harlan continued. Jason provided a copy of an old registration and claimed he needed money to escape an abusive girlfriend. My eyes snapped open. Abusive girlfriend. That was his story? He painted me as a monster to make himself the victim. The betrayal wasn't just the car. It was the way he used my name like a prop. He forged your signature on a bill of sale, the detective added. My pulse slowed. Not because I was calm. Because something in me turned colder than it had the night before. That means, I started. Yes, he said. Based on the evidence, we've issued a warrant for Jason Reed's arrest for grand theft, auto, and forgery. I looked at the desk in front of me. Angela's pen. the neat stack of papers. And I thought about Jason's note, how casual it was, how confident, like he truly believed I'd just accept it. Detective, I said, voice quiet, will I get the car back? It was resold, he replied, a classic car collector in another state, but we're working on recovery. Your ownership is clear. Clear. That word hit me like oxygen, because for the first time since my grandfather died, it felt like I wasn't losing something else. After the call, Angela slid a document across the table. One final communication, she said. Formal, clean, no emotion. I stared at the blank email template on her screen. No emotion. That was the hardest part, because emotion was what Jason thrived on. He fed off it, twisted it, used it. So I wrote the email like I was cutting a wire. Short, precise, fatal. Jason, it has come to my attention that you sold my 1967 Ford Mustang, titled solely in my name, without my consent. You admitted to this in a handwritten note. I have reported the vehicle stolen. I am aware a warrant has been issued for your arrest. All joint financial accounts have been frozen due to your fraudulent actions. Your belongings have been packed and moved to storage. Do not contact me again. All future communication must go through my attorney. I hit send. An hour later, my phone rang again. This time, the caller ID wasn't Jason. It was his mother. I stared at it, feeling that old reflex, the one women are trained into. Be polite, be forgiving, be gentle. Then I remembered the empty garage, and the oil stains, and the fact that my grandfather's car was sitting somewhere in the dark because Jason wanted strangers to envy him. I answered. Her voice was already crying. Sarah, please, how could you do this to him? He's scared. He made a mistake. I listened silent, because deep down I knew what she wanted. She wanted me to be the kind of woman who apologizes while being robbed. But I wasn't. Not anymore. Did you raise him? I asked softly, to believe it's okay to steal from the person who loves him? She stopped breathing for a second. I don't... That's your answer, I said. And before she could turn it into another guilt-filled plea, I ended the call. I sat there for a long moment after. The house was quiet. My locks were new. His things were gone. And somewhere in Miami, Jason was finally learning what it felt like. To be left with nothing but the consequences. 48 hours after the warrant was issued, the calls shifted. The panic phase was over. Now came the pressure. Jason turned himself in Miami. His parents flew down the same day. Bail was posted by sunset. By nightfall, my phone was ringing again. This time it was his father. I almost didn't answer, but something told me to. His voice wasn't frantic like his mother's. It was controlled, measured. The voice of a man used to solving problems with money. Sarah, he began, as if we were discussing a scheduling conflict. Let's be rational about this. I leaned against my kitchen counter, staring at the space where Jason's espresso machine used to sit. I am being rational. This has gotten out of hand, he continued. He made a poor decision. Young people do that. Young. Jason was 33. He sold a vehicle worth $15,000, his father said. Let's not pretend this is some catastrophic loss. I actually smiled at that. You think it was worth $15,000? That's what he got for it. I let out a soft, humorless laugh. That car, in its current restoration state, was conservatively valued at over $50,000. Fully restored, closer to $80,000. Silence. He hadn't expected that. But even if it were worth $5, I added, voice tightening, it wasn't his to sell. He exhaled slowly, irritation creeping in. So what do you want? There it was. The assumption that everything is negotiable. I want accountability, I said. He ignored that. I'm willing to make this right. I'll pay you $20,000. You drop the charges. We all move on. $20,000. For 4 years. For forged signatures. For calling me abusive to strangers. For turning my grandfather into a transaction. It's not about the car, I said quietly. Then what is it about? He snapped. It's about the fact that your son is a thief. The word landed heavy between us. You're throwing away a 4-year relationship over a car, he said sharply. No, I replied. I'm ending a 4-year relationship because your son sold my trust for a wristwatch. He went silent. Then the anger surfaced. You're being vindictive. I thought about that. Was I? Or was I simply refusing to absorb damage quietly? I'm being consistent, I said. He committed a crime. I reported it. You could stop this. I won't. He muttered something under his breath before hanging up. I stood there for a long time afterward. Because even though I knew I was right, there's something insidious about being told you're cruel. Women are conditioned to soften the blow, to forgive, to keep the peace. But peace built on disrespect is just slow decay. And I build things for a living. I know what rot looks like under the surface. The smear campaign started the next day. Subtle at first. One of Jason's influencer friends posted a vague story. Sometimes men get punished for being ambitious. Toxic partners hate to see you rise. Another, financial control is abuse, period. I stared at the screen. Ambitious. That's what we were calling Grand Theft Auto now? My phone buzzed with messages from mutual acquaintances. Is this about you? Is Jason okay? What's going on? I didn't defend myself publicly. I didn't comment. I didn't argue. The truth didn't need performance. It just needed oxygen. Within 24 hours, the full story leaked. Someone who knew a detective mentioned the forged signature. Then someone remembered how obsessed I was with that Mustang. Then someone mentioned the fake brand trip. The internet can be ruthless, but it's also fascinated by hypocrisy. Jason's posts about hard work paying off suddenly looked different next to the words felony theft. The vague posts from his friends stopped. Silence again, but this time it wasn't panic. It was retreat. 3 days later, Detective Harlan called again. We've secured cooperation from the unlicensed dealer, he said. Meaning? He's facing serious charges for trafficking stolen property. He's willing to testify against Jason and Emily in exchange for leniency. Emily. Of course she'd flip. People like her always do when consequences become real. And the collector? I asked. He's furious. Reputation matters in that circle. His attorneys are pursuing the dealer separately. A cascade. That's what this felt like. One reckless decision triggering a chain reaction. And Jason had assumed I'd just cry about it and wait for him to come home. That evening, I found a letter in my mailbox. 6 pages. Jason's handwriting. I almost didn't open it, but I did. It wasn't an apology. It was a narrative. He was stressed. He felt neglected. I worked too much. I didn't appreciate his ambition. The trip was a chance to prove himself. He thought I'd be proud of him for being resourceful. Resourceful. That word made my jaw tighten. Not once did he write, "I'm sorry." Not once did he acknowledge the forgery. Not once did he say he understood what the car meant to me. The entire letter revolved around how my reaction was hurting him. His reputation. His future. His anxiety. He wrote that he never imagined I'd ruin his life over a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding. I folded the letter slowly, carefully, like it was fragile. But what I felt wasn't fragility. It was clarity. He still believed he was the victim. Even now. Even after the warrant. Even after his parents' mortgage was on the line. Some people don't see the wreckage they create. They just complain about the smoke. I added the letter to the growing evidence folder for Angela. Then I walked into the garage. The empty space didn't feel like a wound anymore. It felt like a battlefield. And I wasn't bleeding. I was waiting. A week after the car disappeared, the house felt different. Quieter. Not just physically. Energetically. There was no ring light in the living room. No staged coffee cups for aesthetic photos. No constant narration of a life that wasn't real. Just silence, and the echo of my own footsteps. Jason had officially turned himself in. His mugshot circulated locally before being quietly removed. But screenshots are forever. The confident smile he wore in Miami was gone. In its place, pale skin, tight jaw, eyes that finally understood gravity. Angela kept me updated. Grand theft auto, forgery, fraudulent sale of titled property, she listed one afternoon over speakerphone. Each word sounded clinical. Precise. Clean. Nothing like the chaos he caused. He's looking at serious consequences, she continued. The district attorney isn't inclined to go easy, especially given the premeditation. Premeditation. That word lingered. Because this wasn't impulsive. He didn't wake up and randomly sell the car. He contacted Emily, found a dealer, forged my name, invented an abusive girlfriend story. He planned it. That realization hurt more than anything. 2 days later, Detective Harlan called again. They've located the Mustang, he said. I had to sit down. It's currently being held as evidence. Minor transport damage, but structurally intact. My chest tightened, not with pain, with relief. It wasn't gone forever. It wasn't dismantled. It was waiting. Just like me. Jason's parents called again after that. This time both of them on speaker. His mother crying softly. His father's voice brittle. Sarah, his father began, this has gone far enough. He's already facing public humiliation. His career is over. Career. The word felt almost fictional now. He needs you to show compassion, his mother whispered. Compassion. I looked around my kitchen, the same kitchen where he left $5,000 on the counter like it was a tip. I showed compassion for 4 years, I said quietly. I paid the mortgage. I believed him. I defended him when people questioned his ambition. They didn't respond. He sold my grandfather, I added. Silence again. He forged my signature, I continued. He told strangers I was abusive. His mother began crying harder. His father exhaled sharply. You're destroying his future. No, I replied. He did that when he picked up the pen and forged my name. I ended the call before they could redirect the blame again, because that's what this was really about. Not justice, not remorse. Control. They wanted control back, but they no longer had it. A few days later, the plea negotiations began. Angela explained it carefully. With the note, the forged bill of sale, the dealer's testimony, and Emily cooperating, he doesn't have leverage. Leverage. Jason always thought he had it. Charisma, manipulation, performance. But evidence doesn't care about charisma. Best case for him? I asked. Probation instead of jail, but he'll carry a felony record. Felony. That word changes a life. And for the first time, I felt something unexpected. Not satisfaction. Sadness. Because once upon a time, I had imagined building a future with him. Vacations that were real. A workshop expansion. Maybe even a family. Now, the future was a courtroom. But sadness doesn't erase accountability. While the legal system moved, I moved too. I reclaimed my garage. I rearranged my tools, mounted new shelving, swept every inch of the concrete floor where the Mustang once sat. The empty space no longer felt like a missing tooth. It felt like a placeholder, like something was coming back. One night, I stood there alone, holding the old ignition key in my hand. Cold metal, weighty. I realized something then. He hadn't just underestimated my intelligence. He underestimated my boundaries. He assumed I'd cry. He assumed I'd forgive. He assumed I'd protect him from consequences. He forgot something critical. I build structures for a living, and I tear down unsafe ones without hesitation. The plea deal was finalized 2 months later. Angela called me personally. He's pleading guilty. I closed my eyes. To grand theft auto. To forgery. No trial. No dramatic courtroom showdown. Just paperwork. Consequences in black ink. He avoids jail time, she added carefully, but it's still severe. 5 years probation. 200 hours community service. Permanent felony record. And full restitution. Court-appraised value. $55,000. Not the 15 he pocketed. Not the 20 his father offered. 55. His father had to take out a second mortgage to cover it. When Angela told me that, I didn't feel triumph. I felt finality. Because that check wasn't just money. It was proof that actions cost something. Jason's career collapsed quietly. No brands. No collaborations. No sympathy posts. The arrest became a small local news story. Influencer charged in classic car theft scheme. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Emily disappeared from social media entirely. And Jason? He moved back in with his parents, working retail at a mall 2 towns over, folding shirts under fluorescent lights. The same man who once complained about my dusty relic, now stacking clearance sweaters. Poetic maybe, but mostly predictable. Angela told me his lawyer had reached out. Jason would like to apologize in person. I didn't hesitate. No. Are you sure? She asked gently. Yes. An apology offered under legal pressure isn't remorse. It's strategy. And I wasn't interested in participating in his redemption arc. He could rebuild his life without me witnessing it. 3 months after that empty garage night, I got the call. The Mustang was being transported home. I stood in my driveway when the flatbed truck rolled up. My hands trembled, not from fear, from anticipation. There she was, cherry red under the sun, a few scratches from careless handling, but intact, alive. When the truck lowered her into my driveway, something inside my chest finally exhaled. It wasn't about winning. It was about restoration, the same way I restore homes. You strip away the damage, reinforce the foundation, rebuild stronger. As I slid into the driver's seat for the first time since this began, I ran my fingers over the steering wheel. Leather worn from decades of hands before mine. I turned the key. The engine roared to life. Not perfectly, not smoothly, but powerfully. And in that sound, I heard something clear. He tried to take something irreplaceable, but he failed. Because what he never understood was this. You can't break something built on steel. And you definitely can't break a woman who knows her worth. 3 months. That's how long it took for the dust to settle. 3 months since I walked into my garage and found nothing but oil stains and betrayal. Now I'm standing in that same space, sunlight cutting through the high windows, glinting off fresh chrome. The Mustang is home. Getting her back wasn't simple. 2 states. Evidence holds. Transport delays. A few careless scratches along the rear quarter panel from being shuffled between impound lots. But she's here. Mine. When the flatbed truck rolled up that morning, I didn't expect to feel emotional. I thought I'd feel victorious, triumphant. Instead, I felt steady. Like something that had been off balance inside me finally clicked back into place. The driver lowered her slowly. Tires touched concrete. For a second, I just stared. Cherry red under daylight. Imperfect, but alive. I ran my hand along the hood, and I swear I could almost hear my grandfather's laugh in the back of my mind. The way he used to say, "Engines tell you the truth if you know how to listen." I slid into the driver's seat, turned the key. The engine coughed once, then roared. Not smooth yet, not tuned, but strong. Strong is enough. The legal case ended quietly. No dramatic courtroom showdown, no shouting. Jason pleaded guilty. Grand theft auto, forgery. 5 years probation, 200 hours of community service, permanent felony record, and full restitution, $55,000. When Angela handed me the copy of the court order, I studied the number for a long time. 55,000. That wasn't what the car meant to me, but it was what the law recognized. Jason avoided jail, which I'll admit frustrated me at first. But probation means supervision. A record means doors closed. Community service means humility, whether he likes it or not. And that check? His father paid it. Second mortgage. The man who once offered me $20,000 like I should be grateful, now signing away equity in his own home. I didn't attend the sentencing. I didn't need to. Closure doesn't require proximity. I heard about Jason through mutual acquaintances. His influencer accounts are practically ghost towns now. Engagement dried up overnight. Brands don't like association with theft, especially theft that makes local news. Emily vanished from public view, deleted accounts, changed usernames. Funny how quickly people disappear when consequences become permanent. Jason moved back in with his parents. Works retail at a mall outside the city. I don't mock it. Work is work. But I do find it ironic. The man who sold a piece of my history to Project Luxury now folding clearance shirts under fluorescent lights. Life has a sense of balance sometimes. His lawyer did try once more. A formal request for an in-person apology before sentencing, framed as closure for both parties. I declined. An apology delivered for strategic advantage isn't sincerity, it's negotiation. And I wasn't interested in bargaining over my own boundaries. Some things are final. I used part of the restitution money to do something I'd been putting off for years. I hired the best restoration shop in the state for the bodywork. Fresh paint, perfect alignment, chrome refinished until it reflected like a mirror. I spent my weekends rebuilding the engine myself, hands in grease, music low in the background. No cameras, no audience, just me and the machine. There's something healing about restoration. You strip away damage, reinforce what matters, discard what doesn't. The first time I drove her after the full restoration, I didn't speed. I didn't show off. I just cruised, windows down, engine humming steady. And I realized something important. This was never about revenge. It was about respect. He didn't respect my history. He didn't respect my work. He didn't respect my ownership. So I chose myself. And sometimes that's louder than any retaliation. My house feels different now. Lighter. Authentic. No stage corners for content. No arguments about why I spend Saturdays in the garage. Just space. Real space. I started dating again a few weeks ago. His name is Daniel. He's quiet, observant, works as a structural engineer. The first time he came over, he walked straight to the garage. Not to judge. Not to complain. He ran his fingers along the Mustang's hood and asked, "Did you rebuild the carburetor yourself?" I smiled. "Yeah." He nodded like that meant something important. "Impressive. That's it. No insecurity, no competition, no eye roll about dusty relics. Just respect." It's strange how obvious red flags become once you've walked through fire. Jason used to say the car took up too much space. Daniel says it deserves this space. Small difference. Massive meaning. Sometimes, late at night, I think about that first moment. The empty garage. The envelope on the counter. The $5,000 check like it was a consolation prize. If I had reacted differently, if I had cried, forgiven, absorbed it quietly, my life would look very different right now. Smaller. But I didn't. I froze. I calculated. I acted. And in doing that, I reclaimed more than a car. I reclaimed control. I reclaimed my boundaries. I reclaimed myself. The Mustang sits in the garage now, fully restored. Cherry red gleaming under soft lights. Every time I turn the key and hear that engine roar to life, I feel something simple. Not anger. Not victory. Peace. Because you can't steal someone's foundation and expect them to crumble. You can try. But if that foundation is built on steel, it only comes back stronger.